to recognize it. And again, it's a reflection. Anything I say out here is at best a reminder of something you already knew. And so it's a process of self-recollection from the inside out, I guess you could say. And I'll go over a few of the favorites. As I said originally, I started out with rhyme poetry. And let's see, here we go. This is probably seminal and one of my favorites in terms of what the book says in 1,000 different haiku in 100 different ways, but this is sort of the essence of it. I'll give you a secret here. It's called Silent Mind, a little bit like that metaphor of the pot and the water. An empty mind is also clear. Without thought there is no fear. A quiet mind lives in peace, makes the most of even least. A silent mind has no bound. Open and still itself is found. And this one is sort of neat because I found about 5 years later, after these had been disseminated, I guess I put "Who am I?" which is sort of the ultimate question. Jesus' version of that is a reciprocal "Who do you say that I am?" because who you say I am is who you say you are. Who am I? Who is this I that I seem to be, that I feel I am, yet cannot see? The one in me I've yet to know, though ever present wherever I go. Who can it be, this I in me, the I that I am, yet never see? The one in me that still goes on, when all about has come and gone. The one in me that always knows, that never comes and never goes. That's always here and never there, ever present and so nowhere. The one in me, the one in you, the I in us and all else too. The root and core of all that lives, the essence and soul of all that is. The I in all which cannot fall, alive in the hearts of great and small. That's never apart and always near, knows no hunger and has no fear. The one in all, the one in each, the one I'll seek but never reach. The I that I am, that you are too. The I that answers the question, who? And I'll give you a sort of a shotgun of some of the haiku. I've been working with a poetry group down in Ocean City about once every month or so. About 18 or 19 people get up there, and I sort of shotgun them. And there's some that I've done several times, I guess. But from a big picture standpoint, poetic glimpses, and these are haiku, but they're not, I won't say legitimate, and it depends on who you talk about haiku. They don't reference the season and they don't reference nature. They're closer to senore, but I generally don't muddy the waters with that term because then you get into discussions. And somebody said, call my stuff haiku since my first name is Hay, so I think that's sort of cute. I'll use that to differentiate it. And I've gotten the haiku purist orthodoxy off my back that way periodically. But here's sort of what the book is. Poetic glimpses into the divine nature of being aware. And this is a seminal one as well. A fatal case of mistaken identity, this being human. This holy instant, awareness knows sensation. Consciousness is born. These are closer to traditional haiku. Playful old puppies. She frolics, he gently paws. Love in furry coats. Slowly drifting off. Thought and feeling pass away. Practicing my death. Thinking causes one to burn mental moth holes in the present moment. Subject to mental myopia, I lose sight of the big picture. Thinking of others instead of yourself is how to stop suffering. Only an outlaw suffers under the law, and in law fulfills it. Any God that is other than I am can't be an absolute one. To love my brother as myself, I must realize he and I are one. To know I am, this one's a little Zenish. I have an affinity for this one. So simple. To know I am, and just be that, is the headstone the builders reject. And for Christians, there's a reference to he, Christ was the cornerstone that the builders reject. So, this is the, how should we say, the answer to the Da Vinci. I used to study a lot of mystical symbology and so forth, and I'm not so sure they got the imagery right as to what the Holy Grail is, but ultimately you're the Holy Grail. As are we all. Empty of self-thought, I am the Holy Grail through which the Father flows. This is probably my favorite Christian one, because I do have an endorsement by two pretty high, I don't know that they would, well, they have done it in public. One guy did endorse the book, but they're pretty high-powered PhD kind of theologians, and I gave it to the one guy intentionally to see, you see any heresy here per se? It pushes the envelope, but he seemed to enjoy it. Jesus died to save us from our delusion of self-existence. Misidentify yourself, and life is a tale told by an idiot. Attention paid to being consciously aware pays big dividends. Worshipping the past, projecting the future, and missing the moment. Is there a face on your end of perception, or only aware space? That has to do with Douglas Harding, if you know Douglas Harding. Being present and aware is fundamental to everything else. The essence of all this really comes back to awareness, is really what it comes down to. And self-awareness in terms of awareness, aware of itself, not aware of an idea or a concept. And somewhere along the line, the concept gets confused with the reality, or an idea of being is mistaken for being itself, and off to the races you go. What do you know that does not arise as a state of your own consciousness? Consciousness is all there is, and you are that, is what the sages said, or what the ancients say. Or God is real as the aware presence one is, but not as a concept. Coming into the home stretch. Lose interest in thought, and you are free to be happiness itself. This is a favorite one. Mind is the weaver of garments of light or shrouds of self-ignorance. Moonlight gazing back at the sunlight at its source would say, I am that. Enlightenment sees the house as whole, while mind builds it with mental bricks. This one's a little cryptic, but I like it. The fulfillment the mind seeks comes in the presence of its own absence. I don't know if everybody, as the older I get, I don't assume other people relate to reality the way I do. I used to assume everybody did the same thing. But basically, when I do things, I've always found, at least from a mental standpoint, I'm doing this stuff to get it done so I don't have to do anything. So it's sort of trying to get to the point of not having to think anymore. You know, and it's, can I cut to the chase and get to that? And I'll give you one last thought. It's I got it from Stephen Levin, who was in the death and dying industry and wrote a book called Who Dies? And it's a Buddhist idea of kill desire. The Western idea is sort of kill self. Or no, actually, Eastern idea is get rid of the self and it becomes one, and the Western idea is to get rid of your ego, which is sort of a projected other. But ultimately, the trick on desire is the engine. And I call it the Super Bowl syndrome, where invariably somebody who's worked all his life to win the Super Bowl, suffered, sacrificed, broke his body in many, many times, actually gets there, a lot don't, actually wins the game, a lot don't, actually is the star. And at the end of the game, Disney sort of uses it for their promotional. The first thing he said, they asked, how's it feel? I love that question.